What's up, everyone? Today is Real Advice Real Estate episode number 8. We have Devin Tryan from Hawaii that will be joining us, who is also known as the prospecting machine. So if you're watching this video and you want to up your game when it comes to prospecting, this is definitely one video that you're going to want to stay throughout. Not only stay throughout this video, but make sure that you're also following Devin and learning more about the things that he's doing when it comes to prospecting. Again, if you're watching this video, we are live, episode number 8, the prospecting machine. I'm going to bring Devin on the screen now. What is up?
What's up, Jonathan?
Aloha.
Aloha.
So I was giving you an introduction. I'll let them know your name, and you're from Hawaii, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, your specific market,
Cool.
maybe your social security number or something. I don't know. You can tell us whatever you want.
Everything. Devin Tryan. So I sell real estate on the island of Oahu. I do work all over the state of Hawaii, but Oahu is kind of my bread and butter. That's where I focus on. Started in this industry as an admin going on about 6 years ago, and then started in sales a little bit over. This will be my 3rd full year in sales. So just hit the ground running and tried to kick ass as fast as I could.
Sweet. So you said you were an admin 5 years ago, or you were admin for 5 years?
So first, while I was in college, I was basically admin / tenant clean out / I don't know, something's broke and somebody has to deal with it, so go do it.
A lot of people don't know that about me, but I actually got into real estate by being an intern while I was at UCLA. I was an intern for one of the top brokers in the world, and then went through the process, and before I actually started doing sales myself. So
weird how that works. Weird. Like I took a total different trajectory after doing what I was doing. So
same here. Do you know what your 2018 numbers are as far as either units or volume or GCI or whatever you base it off of?
So unit wise, going to end at about 33, 34. Have one shaky transaction right now, so that's why I say possibly 34. And volume wise, I want to say it's probably going to be just about 14.5 million in volume. So averaging about 500,000 price point. Majority of those was expired listings. And then the rest, another majority would be the expired listings that ended up buying. So a sell and then buy, and then a few sporadic sources throughout.
And you said that the majority of them are expireds. What would you consider majority of roughly? We're not going to hold you.
So if you include the sellers that expired as well as the sellers that we sold their house, so I helped them buy, probably about 25, 28 of them.
And would you consider that 25 to 28, which is a huge number, is that the specific system that you're using? Or excuse me, is there a specific system that you're using or something that you're doing differently in order to tap into 25 or 28, which is a huge number?
Yeah, definitely. So when I first started in the business, I actually didn't have a vehicle. I drove a moped. I was like 19 at the time. And I chose FSBOs and expireds because I could basically, one, if you have a buyer, you can't drive them around on the back of a moped. So with the FSBOs and expireds, I would actually moped up to their house, but I'd park a block away and then walk up and just be like, oh, I parked around the corner. And I chose them because I had to work with sellers and I didn't know any other way other than I think I watched a video once that was just like, you should try calling these guys. So for the first 3 years, that's just what I dove into and got super good at. The first 2 years was total learning process. I really wasn't doing a whole lot of business from it. And then it was this year and part of last year is when I started developing the systems, the tools, the scripts, knowing what to say, how to say it, when to say it. That allowed me to close about 25, 28 units just from that source alone.
And what would you say was the biggest thing that you did, or what was behind the actual success? You said that for the first few years, it was a learning curve. You were, building this up. What was it that took you over that peak per se to actually start, on a different trajectory?
Right. So what was like that changing point? It was a couple things. First of all, a lot of it was confidence in myself. Once I got better at doing it, because I hadn't really sold real estate, and before, 6 years ago, I didn't even know what a mortgage was. So it was just learning the industry and actually having the confidence that, okay, like going in, knowing to myself that I can do this. And then when the sellers see that, they feel comfortable too. But
you're young. You're not supposed to be able to sell real estate. You're too young for this job.
It took me a year or two to get over that idea. But nobody cares. Like, as long as you're good at what you do, like, they don't care, So just like
you mean that you're actually a full-time realtor who sells more than one house, and you're still young? I thought that's impossible.
100%, man, 100%. But like the example I tell a lot of new agents, so is it's like if you walk up to a car dealership, let's say it's like a Jaguar or something, an expensive car, and there's a kid who's, let's say he's 18 or 19, but you can tell he knows every detail about the car inside and out. You don't care. You don't care how old he is or if you buy from him or not. You just want the car. And you want somebody who knows about it that can answer your questions. And so that's the important thing, is to have that confidence and know the market enough. So the first thing was the confidence. And then the second thing was building up that listing presentation to where like you have it down.
And when you say that you have it down, is that just knowing it? Is that, something specific? You have to buy all these crazy programs out there and you have to, have the most elaborate presentation, or that's knowing your numbers, knowing exactly what it is that is going to ultimately achieve the goal of the client?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, when I say listing presentation down, I mean that you can go in there and you can, you take it from somewhere. I don't care. I mean, there's a million different places that you can get a coaching, or like Keller Williams, Century 21, Coldwell Banker, all the coaching people, they all have their own listing presentation. You just got to choose one that works, and then you got to use it and get really good at it. And then you have to be really good at listening, because a lot of agents I've kind of, especially the older agents, they say, oh, I've done this so many times. They go in and they want to make it, the them show or the Devin show or Jonathan show. But if you just go in, you're like, hey, like, tell me what do we got to do? How can I help? And just listen, and like listen more than you talk. And like, dude, people appreciate that. Like, people love to be listened to.
So you mean to tell me that you're not supposed to go in with commission breath, and you're not supposed to do anything and everything to make sure that you get the listing, even if it's going to affect somebody and ruin their lives or whatnot? You just
right. Well, you still got to get the listing. But
yeah, but what you're saying is it's not as hard to get the listing, when you're doing it for the right reasons, when you actually know your numbers, when you actually know what you know, but with all of that still in play, as long as you're listening to what that specific person wants or needs, you're able to, on the fly, tailor your presentation in a way for them to kind of see exactly how it's going to benefit them, as opposed to just having a standard 10-part listing. You go 1 through 10 and say ready to sign. You may throw in, because you know it so well, maybe you throw in part 7 instead of part 2, because that's something that is going to help them. I want to get back to the expireds, and just going back into the specific strategy. Let's say that somebody is trying to incorporate prospecting just in general into their business. Could you take us through a step-by-step, as if you were explaining to somebody, hey, if you want to prospect, this is what I do, and it's very basic. At the end of the day, if you just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's all you really need to do. Not that somebody's going to do it and instantly get 25 expired listings today, but it's just a systematic process where you come in, you follow it, and it's something that somebody else could do.
Totally. So first one is you have to have a CRM that houses all of your data. I don't care what it is. I use Mojo paired with a company called Vulcan 7. Vulcan 7 is a data provider. Mojo is a power dialer. So you put all the information into Mojo, and then you can log into the system and it will dial everybody for you. So the first one is you have to have the CRM that provides the data. You're not going to go to the phone book and start looking up people's names and addresses, in the first thing in the morning. That's ridiculous. The second thing is you have to have a schedule in your calendar of when you call these people. So if you're the 8 to 5 person, 9 to 5 person, you're going to have to do in the evenings. Like if you have a second job or if you're just getting started, maybe you do it at the beginning of the day when you have time. So first one, CRM. Second one, having a schedule. I recommend build the habit, at least do it for 60 minutes a day.
Got it. And let me just reiterate that the CRM that you're using is not necessarily something that somebody either has to buy or that's the only one that works. You're just saying you have to have something, so then that way it makes your life easier. You can call more people. You can do things a lot more efficient as opposed to opening up the yellow pages.
Yeah, my very first CRM that I used for expireds was Excel spreadsheets.
And I'm assuming that as long as you use that Excel spreadsheets and you used it and you tracked it and you stayed up to date, it works the same that something else does. Obviously, bigger programs, more advanced technology is going to help you. But for somebody starting out that says, hey, I can't spend X dollars per month, just track your stuff and stop making the excuse of what you're saying.
Yeah, so you have to take notes on people, why they're selling, how often you've called them. Let's say if you list 100 people, it's easy to forget everybody. So when I first started, I had an spreadsheet, and just each row had everybody's name, their telephone number, and on the last time I contacted them and some notes. And so I filled it out, and I was like, okay, I have to at least try and contact everybody 10 times because I read that on a video or a blog somewhere. And so after you have it in your calendar, you have your CRM set up, the third thing I would say is you have to learn dialogue, which means scripts.
And is there something specific when it comes to the dialogue and when it comes to the scripts that you would say that you've learned over the last few years is something either better to say or something not as good to say?
Yeah, maybe we'll do, if you want to be a tough expired, we can do like a quick role play. Okay. And so I'll do this with a lot of my partners. And so let's just pretend you're an expired. Let's also pretend you're getting a ton of real estate calls. And what we'll do is I'm going to put my fingers in. So every time you tell me no or give me an objection, I'll put up one of my fingers. We'll make sure we do it 6 times.
Great.
Ring, ring.
Hey, hi, this is Jonathan.
Hi, Jonathan. This is Devin Tryan at Keller Williams. I'm actually calling about your 123 Main Street property.
Yeah. I've already gotten, I don't know why you guys keep calling me. I already told you guys stop calling me.
Oh, are you getting a lot of calls from agents?
Yeah, I don't want to sell my house. Stop calling me.
Oh man, these agents are like rats coming out of the woodwork, aren't they?
Yeah, and they just keep calling and calling, and just like I'm telling you, I told them the same thing. I don't want to sell my house.
Got it. Hey, I work with these guys, so I understand. All right, well, I'll make it really fast then. What happened to the house there? I saw it was on the market for 6 months. No offers on that, or just it seemed like it should have sold pretty quick.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, but I don't know what happened. It doesn't make sense to me because I see everything else is selling, but mine just didn't sell.
Sure. Well, I know the 2 houses over that we sold at X price, we had done in 3 days. So did you guys get any offers on that at all?
We had one offer, but it was all over the place.
They came in low. Okay, so Jonathan, I mean, if you guys still could, I'm not saying you could, but if you still could get a price at $680,000, would you still sell it?
I mean, it would have to be something super strong. But like I said, you guys just keep calling and bugging me, and you're sending all this mail to my house. I don't know why you guys keep doing this.
Okay. Well, I'll make it really fast then. So I'm just curious, Jonathan, the reason I'm asking is because I see what kind of house you have there. And frankly, it was on the market for 6 months, far too long. The last house we sold was gone in 3 days. and we have multiple offer situation. So I'm just.
I don't understand. If you can sell the house in 3 days, why couldn't my other realtor do the same thing?
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen the house. So let's do this. I'm going to be in the area this evening at around 4 o'clock. I could do 4:30. Are you going to be home at that time?
No, I work 9 to 5.
9 to 5. Okay. Well, I'd like to get a grand tour of the house from you. You can show it to me. I'll tell you exactly what stopped it from selling.
I don't want to sign another listing right now.
I'm not even asking you to sign a listing. Here's what I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you what stopped it from selling because it doesn't even sound like you have a good path yet. And then I'll tell you exactly what it would sell for. And if you say, you know what, Devin, at that price, we'd rather not sell. Cool. That's fine. At least maybe, who knows, down the road, I can bring you a buyer. But are you guys, can I stop over this evening around 5:30?
How long do you think it's going to take you?
10 minutes.
No, that's not going to work.
Okay. What's a better time for you?
Like I said, there's tons of people. I don't know. What's your name again?
This is Devin Tryan at Keller Williams. Here, think of it this way, and I know you're getting a ton of calls, and I really don't mean to pressure you. It's just I saw the home, I saw the ad, and honestly, it's a beautiful house. And if you gave the last agent 6 months to not sell it, can you give me 10 minutes so I can show you how I can?
Can you comment in the morning? The morning actually works better for me. The evening, I'm with my family.
Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, okay?
Yeah, that's perfect.
So the big thing with those scripts, though, is like just listening and pushing. And then also you have to so that thing in the beginning was that rats coming out of the woodwork. That's just a pattern interrupt. Like It sounds weird. I don't like it, but you need to get them off the path of vomiting on you. And sometimes you got to do it. And the thing about it, though, is it's not just a lot of times I don't set it on the very first phone call. What happens is they'll just be like, no. And they'll be like, I got to go. Bye. And they'll hang up. So then you call them the next day and just say, listen, like, we briefly spoke. I'm really interested. And after 3 or 4 phone calls, they're like, you know what? All right, come over. Sometimes.
So what is the investment that you're associating to this specific strategy, as far as your time, as far as specific resources, monetary wise? What are you putting into the expireds in order to get 25 to 28?
So I spend about $500 a month, and that includes basically like the system, the data, that includes the CRM. I started doing mailers as of recently as well, so that's not including that. And then as for time, I would say this year, it's been an average of about an hour to 2 hours a day. Recently, as of summer, we started upping it to about 4 hours a day.
You're doing 4 hours of calling per day?
Yeah, not just expired. So that includes the FSBOs, the lead follow-up from door knocking, the database, but about 2.5 to 3 hours of expireds per day.
So you're saying in order to be a prospecting machine, you have to prospect?
Yeah.
Got it. I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'm going to see if anybody else has any. What are the challenges that you overcome, or what is maybe a key mistake that you can point out that you can say, hey, that was a mistake. I should have done it this way, or should have, did it that way, or were there any mistakes that you can point out along the way that might help somebody?
Probably hundreds. A big one, though, that I wish like somebody took me day one and was like, Devin, just learn this, would be just get really good at objection handles. Like, get really good,
And how does somebody get really good? By role playing, or by just
you write them down, you get them in front of you, and then you read them out loud every day, and then you get on the phone with people and you practice, and you have them tell you no 6 times in a row until it doesn't faze you. Because the very first maybe couple hundred phone calls, they're uncomfortable, man. Like, you have people telling you no and like, don't do this, and most people aren't really too rude. I've had a few very rude people. But most people, like the rudest they're like, nah, and they hang up.
And when it comes to the practicing and learning those objections, would you just say, hey, just pick up the phone and just start figuring out the objections? Or would you recommend the role play aspect of it?
Honestly, I just say Google real estate objection handlers, real estate objections. And like, you'll probably find 1,000 different resources. Brian Buffini, Mike Ferry, Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker. They're all there. That's how I found him.
Sweet. We have Sherry, Carrie, Caroline, Kosar, Shauna. There's tons more actually that are popping on and watching this. If you're watching this, I am with Devin from Oahu. We are talking about the prospecting machine, which Devin himself is. If you're just now hopping on and you have any specific questions, make sure that you are posting those questions in the comments, so that way Devin or myself can get them answered. We've already talked about some of the expired things that Devin's doing, some of the systems and processes that he's using, and he's really talked to us, about all these different things that you too can incorporate if you're going to actually do these things. So Devin, my next question is, if somebody wanted to get exactly where you're at right now, not any better, not any worse, what would you say is that starting point? That one, hey, just start here, and this is going to help you get to where I'm at.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm throwing a lot of good questions.
If somebody wanted to end, 2019 at about 30 to 35 units, really, I would just say, as real estate agents, it's so easy to get in your own head. It's a lonely business. It's you against you every single day. Put systems in place that allow you, that keep you accountable, so you have to show up even though you don't want to. So I'm the type of person where if I wake up late, I don't feel bad about myself. I let myself down in a way, but I'm not too worried about it. However, if I knew somebody was counting on me and expected me to meet them at the office at 6 o'clock, I generally show up because I don't want to let them down, and I don't want them to have a bad opinion of me. So I would really say, until you can build up a strong habit, get an accountability partner that says, okay, on these days, between these times, we're going to meet together and we're going to call these people.
We actually kind of touched on this last week with Astis from Iceland, and she said that the one of the biggest things that transformed her business into selling 120 houses a year is the fact that she turned basically everything into a competition. And once she had that competitive aspect to it, it just pushed her to do better. And she knew that others were going to hold her accountable, and she didn't want to let people down. And she started surprising herself, learning all of these different things that she didn't know she could do. And it just took that accountability, like you're talking about, and that competitive mindset to just kind of give her that extra nudge that she needed.
That's awesome.
Sherry is asking, what types of marketing do you do and how often? So let's tie it back into the actual prospecting. As far as making phone calls and prospecting, is there anything that you're tying into that to assist you? With just maybe some brand awareness or whatnot. So then that way, when you're calling, it's not, I've never seen you anywhere before.
Sure. So I have 8 sources of business: expires for sale by owners database, open houses. I have a geographic farm that I door knock and send out mailers to. I do agent to agent referrals. I have my social media, and I have online leads as well, Yelp. So those are my 8 sources of business, my 8 channels, pillars, whatever you want to call it. The first thing I do for the marketing would be I do paid Yelp ads. I spend $900 a month in Yelp. That's generated huge dividends for me. The second thing I do is I send out 10,000 mailers per month. So with the USPS post office, you can send out a mailer for 17 cents per piece if you order all in bulk. So we send out 10,000 units a month. We're able to find people to send us mail for super cheap. And then I do generally, so I'll do database newsletters once a month. My assistant runs that. And then I also started getting to direct mail, which is depending if I have a bunch of buyers, hey, I have a buyer for your home. Can we make this work? And that's every 500 of those I send out, I either help them buy a home or I get a listing. Like those are huge.
Are these things that you just on a wing just started to throw them into your business, or are these things that you've done over time and you've built up, and you're not necessarily recommending somebody just to start throwing out 10,000 pieces of mail and doing all these things instantly?
No, totally not. So I started doing the mailing campaign 3 months ago, and as of recently got one of my first listings from it. Actually, it's 4 months ago. So it's a long-term game, and that's something there's a client or an agent in California that does that. You probably know him, Nazar. That's where I took the idea from, and the reason I followed that was because that's all marketing based. So all the phone calls you get are, hey, come list me. However, it's really expensive, and it takes a lot of time if you don't have somebody running it. Hey, Shauna. So then with the Yelp ads, I actually pulled all of my marketing budget from Zillow because I had a little bit. I tested the waters with Yelp, and it worked out well. And then Zillow was just crashing and burning. I was like, man, take that $600 a month all into Yelp.
Sweet.
Yeah.
How do you envision your prospecting and your strategy around prospecting? How do you envision that evolving over the next year?
So my current schedule is basically I meet my assistant at the office at 7:45. She'll be here in about 15 minutes. She preps the call list. I look at the daily hot sheets. 8 a.m. generally we'll start on the phones. She takes the notes for me as I'm making phone calls, so I can just power through phone calls. I'll get off the phone. So let's say I get off the phone with you. I'm like, hey, Jonathan was a hot expired. Send him a thank you letter. Send him another letter in a week. Set up a follow-up call in 1 week, and then I'm on to the next phone call. Or if I set an appointment with you, I'll say, hey, Jonathan's in Santa Cruz, California. Send him a pre-listing package, and then she'll just call the FedEx over there. She'll send them the files. They'll print it. They'll deliver it to you. So as I'm doing that,
I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Shauna just said, I'd love to do mailouts, but just don't have the time or the manpower to handle it. Well, what's a piece of advice that you can give to her or anybody that's saying, I don't have the time to do mailers. I want to do them. I just don't have the time.
I mean, hire someone, like put an ad on Indeed. You don't have to, I don't know where you're located, but my very first assistant was like $11 an hour. I mean, it's not like you're stuffing envelopes. It's not high quality work. So you could do that. Really, I just figure it out. Like, I mean, honestly, that's all I was like. Just post it out on Facebook saying like, "Hey, I need help doing this for a couple days. I'll pay you $100."
And you can be a testament that if you spend some money, you have the ability to make a lot more money. And when you hold yourself accountable to doing the things and having the actual process, and you actually stick with it, these things are going to work. You can't call every single person that is an expired and never ever get a listing from it if you're getting better and you're doing these specific things.
It's totally. Like if you show up, like the biggest thing is just show up every day. Like, and then back to the mailouts and the things. I mean, really, I just say sit down, create a plan, and then find somebody that can follow it for you. Because if you pay them hourly, like they have to show up and do the job every day. So put a plan in place, because if you only do one mail out, like I've probably sent out 45,000 pieces of mail, and I just now got a piece of business from it. And like this transaction is not even going to cover the money I've spent on it over the past 4 months. So it's just having the plan and then implementing.
What are some important trends that you're watching that we all should be watching as well?
In terms of the real estate market?
Correct. Unless there's other things that you want to talk about. I mean, we could turn this into a lifestyle blog, money market blog.
So, I mean, a couple of things that I've really just been thinking about. The first one being, when I look at our market stats, no matter what market you're in, up, down, high, low, there are still a lot of sales. There's still a ton of business. Even if the market is low or down or slow, there's still so much room for people to take over market share. Like, an economy should not dictate a real estate agent's sales as long as they're doing the right activities.
And what I always say is that life doesn't stop just because, something is affecting somebody else. I mean, people move, people downsize, people are still getting older. Unfortunately, they're not getting younger, but
Yeah.
they are having younger ones. And so this, continuation of life is continuing to go. And just because the market goes up or the market dips down, that's not going to stop these specific life events from happening. And you just have to have the mindset to, focus on what you know and do it and continue to do it and stay accountable and stop listening to all the outside noise that's telling you that.
Like, that's exactly right. Stop listening to the outside noise and just like put your nose down and go. I mean, like, that's what you have to do with expireds. If the market's down, like, you may not sell a house in 2 days for $40,000 above asking and get like a 1 million-star review. But people are still moving, dude. Like, they're still gonna move. They're not gonna stop having kids because the market is slow.
That would be funny if they did. We're gonna wrap up. If you guys have any more questions, definitely make sure that you still put them in the comment section, and we can definitely get them answered for you. If you have any specific questions, maybe like Shauna was talking about marketing and whatnot, still ask those specific questions. And if it's something that Devin or myself needs to answer, we can answer. Or if you want to, get into postcards and mailing and all these different types of things, we can dive into that with somebody else as well. Before we leave, Devin, what is one piece of advice that you would give to somebody that's, just looking to up their game when it comes to prospecting?
Let me think. One piece of advice if you're looking to up your game for prospecting.
Hopefully, you should be able to give a lot of a piece of advice. What's one thing that you're doing?
It's really just gonna come down. It's really gonna just come down to creating accountability. The way I did it was I hired an assistant to sit down next to me every day to make sure that I do it.
So how many are you gonna? Let's say how many expireds are you gonna do next year?
I have on my business plan actually 24 expireds. And then, so less than this year. And part of that's because I'm trying to put a little bit more energy into marketing efforts versus prospecting efforts now that I can afford it, which of course leaves me open for more appointments during the day.
So 24 by next year, we'll go live again November 27th, 2019. And
I'll probably do them all. I'll probably do all 24 in the first 3 months.
Sweet. Where can people find you at on social media? Maybe your house address if they want to deliver you some.
Yeah, house address 2850 Wahoo Avenue, 96822. It's a nice house. Facebook is Devin Tryan, DevinTryan. Instagram, same thing. I'm pretty sure I'm the only Devin Tryan like out there, at least on Facebook as of now. So no matter what you do, like if you even type that into Google, devintryan.com, it's there.
I wish that was super simple for me. There's like 30 Jonathan Hawkins, which
you just got to be.
I didn't know until you start figuring it out. Thank you so much for hopping on with us. It was greatly appreciated. So what do you say when you tell somebody bye? What do you say?
I say mahalo or aloha. Either way.
Mahalo?
Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Take it
later. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This has been Real Advice Real Estate. I'm going crazy today. Episode number 8, we were talking with Devin Tryan from Oahu, talking about prospecting, which also led us into some expired and some marketing talks. Again, if you have questions, post them below. We will definitely get them answered. If you have any more specific topics or things that you want us to discuss on future episodes, post them below. Send me a message. Make sure to follow Devin on Facebook, Instagram at Devin Tryan. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks.